I like doing animals. I could do animals all day long.
At first sight, Gesine Krätzner's drawings seem pretty simple, even childlike.
So I like to find the very simplest shapes in an animal and sort of overdo them. I don't do things symmetrical. You know, I often have one eye bigger than the other. The proportions are sort of weird.
The effect is disarming, but there's something very human about what Gesine calls her pets.
The idea is these bunnies are all sort of worried.
But what in the world are they worried about?
Little bunnies, they should be worried. They're very vulnerable. There's a lot of something nasty lurking. The big rabbit eater. My inner 8-year-old is strong and trying to break out all the time. I love kids' drawings. I think they're genius, especially before they learn proper drawing. And I'm sort of holding on to that, to the innocence of that.
Innocent enough as two-dimensional drawings, but they don't always stay on the page.
Then I think, ooh, this would be a cool one to sculpt. So with these guys, I start with a little lump of aluminum foil in the middle.
Gesine covers the foil lump with a pliable molding clay, plugs in legs and ears, and then gives them attitude.
The eyes are next.
With the press of a finger, this bunny goes from worried to grumpy.
There he is. Grumpy bunny. It's the tiniest things that totally change a face.
Once sculpted and painted, the occupants of Gesine's abundant imagination need just one more thing.
They're almost there, but then when you add the pupils, that's when all of a sudden they're like, bing, they're there. Because all the life is in the eyes, really.
Each pet, no matter how grumpy or disturbing, gets a name.
This is Cutie Pie. What was he? Uncle Terry.
The names are just names, familiar, innocuous.
I'm creating a world, and one day there'll be these. They will take over the whole world. They'll be everywhere.
Maybe to advance her plot of world domination, Gesine recently began making larger pets from paper mache. She starts with old-fashioned insulation material, then mixes it with wallpaper paste.
All I do is mix the two together.
She slathers the mixture on in layers.
I love doing this. Just the feeling of it, the messiness of it.
And then dries the form in preparation for painting.
It takes a long time to dry, which means I can't make anything bigger than my oven, which is sad.
Sad, especially if you're trying to build an army of life-size pets for some reason. But once they have eyes and teeth, there's no denying that these creatures are oddly appealing.
These guys are cute but slightly off, if you know what I mean. They all have a little, they could all be slightly deranged as well. I think people are drawn to that in my creatures, that they have these expressions, that they have a personality that you can see in their expressions. You look at the guy and you can see there's something going on in that brain, which is why I like to do grumpy ones. They're a bit closer to real life.
In fact, some of them seem so peculiarly alive that you almost expect them to move.
Now, they'll snap the ball, take a knee, and that'll end it. Bills are going to drop this one, and then wait a second. The ball is loose. Fisher's got it, and he's got Walker. Top 20. He's to the 10. Touchdown, Bills! Listen to this fight. Holy moly. What? No! They're going to say he stepped out of bounds at the 30-yard line. The game comes to an end. The Bills lose a heartbreaker.
So you see, Gesine's creations do live in a world of their own, worlds she designs and directs at the studios of Leica. Her interest in animation took her from Germany to London's Royal College of Art, and then 15 years ago to Oregon to work in Portland's flourishing animation industry.
Once Upon a Tide was made to be shown in aquariums and educational settings.
As the little girl set out on her adventure, the shell spoke of amazing things.
That was one of my favorite projects ever, to create this sort of surreal underwater world, or this surreal story of a little girl traveling. It was pretty fun coming up with ideas for that. His chair is made to look like it's been made from a coffee can.
Another project involved this guy, the Esure mouse.
Esure was a pretty big campaign for an insurance company in England.
This film from Leica shows how a campaign goes from Gesine's design of Mr. Mouse to a finished commercial.
As a designer, I come in at that point when we do initial designs for the project. So this guy here, he looked a bit too rat-like. His eyes are really small and his ears are really small. He doesn't have much of a forehead at all, which this guy does. He's maybe a little bit too cute. Somewhere in the middle is Mr. Mouse. We took elements basically from both of them.
Creating the star of the show is just the beginning.
Then an armaturist puts a skeleton together with ball bearings and wire inside so that the character can be posed. Then a mold gets made of the character. The skeleton gets put inside, and then the mold gets filled with foam latex. That's basically your flesh and skin of the puppet.
Mr. Mouse is done, but Gesine's design work is not.
So after we figured out what Mr. Mouse looks like, we thought, what kind of world would he live in? One of the things I was trying to do with the environments was to not have any straight lines. The rooms are tilted and furniture is warped. We've been trying to get away from reality a little bit, still have the feeling of a really nice, cozy cottage, but take a step away from reality. If you look at it, even the keyboard is wobbly.
After the crooked furniture is built, and the warped sets erected, it's finally time to animate.
The animator takes the puppets and actually moves them in front of the camera.
What, you thought it was electronic microchips inside these things?
A piece just a few seconds in duration can involve dozens of artists and take months to finish. And it can lead to some surprising results.
This is the stuffed animal that got made from my Mr. Mouse, which was a first. I've never had a stuffed animal made from any of my characters. Yeah, it's kind of weird when you think that somebody in China, in a Chinese factory, made this guy.
Yeah, kind of weird, unless you're plotting world domination.